President Trump announced yesterday that he will announce his pick for the open Supreme Court seat this Saturday. Democrat Senator Chuck Schumer, though, said that nothing is off the table if the Republicans and President Trump move forward with this Supreme Court pick. He is threatening impeachment, and he also threatened packing the Supreme Court with Democrats. Joining me right now, the host of the Mark Levin Show and Life, Liberty, and Levin, Mark Levin. Mark, it is great to have you this morning. Thank you so much for being here. We are all huge fans of yours, Mark.
And likewise. Thank you, Maria.
So your reaction to these threats coming from Chuck Schumer, last I checked, I don't think the American people like to get threatened. But if the president does do his constitutional obligation and name a replacement, he says they're going to pack the court with Democrats and they may very well move to impeach him.
You know, Chuck Schumer's been a disaster his entire career. You may recall he made himself famous in the House by going after the Second Amendment. In the Senate, I can't think of a single positive thing this man has ever done. Chuck Schumer thinks the Supreme Court belongs to the Democrat Party. The Supreme Court belongs to the American people. That's number one. Number two, that seat was not Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat. It is a seat on the Supreme Court. Number three, if he attempts to pack the court, the American people need to understand that this is a power grab by the Democrat Party that wants to permanently take over all elements of the government, just like the Democrat Party in California. That's the guideline they're using. They will pack the Supreme Court with leftists. Now, I want to ask people out there, when you go in front of a court and you have a case, you want your case to be heard by leftists or rightists or anything. You want your case to be heard by an objective judge who's going to apply the law and the facts, in this case, to the United States Constitution. That's not what Schumer wants. And if you listen to AOC, his sidekick yesterday, she goes on and on. Well, we'll lose these rights and those rights and these rights. So they have a whole laundry list of their political agenda, and that's how they view the court. And it's understandable, because one of their great intellectuals 100 years ago, the racist Woodrow Wilson, he said basically, and I paraphrase, in order for the left to take over the country, they need to take over the courts. There's no talk about what will these justices do on the court. The only legitimate thing a justice can do on the court is follow the Constitution. That's not what they're arguing. The reason they're fighting like hell over this is they want another radical on the court who will advance their agenda. That's number one. Now they talk about packing the Senate. They want to add Puerto Rico and D.C., 4 Democrats. What else are they talking about? Eliminating the filibuster rule. So they're telling us what they want to do. Push through all legislation, permanently have a majority in the Senate, have a majority ideological control over the Supreme Court. You know what that's called where I come from? That's called fascism. That's not constitutional republicanism with checks and balances. So we cannot allow this rogue party to take over all elements of our society. And one other thing. This is, when you listen to his rhetoric, and when you listen to the rhetoric of people like Markey and so forth, and you listen to the rhetoric of their surrogates, we're going to burn down the system. We're going to destroy the system. Don't they sound like the rioters in the street? They sound exactly like the rioters in the street. These are hardcore radicals now, dressed up as senators and congressmen. They could just as easily be in the streets, but they're in Congress. And this is a big problem, Maria.
Yeah. And Dagan McDowell, don't forget, if they make D.C. and Puerto Rico states, then that gives them more latitude to have 4 new senators, Democrat senators in the Senate. That would change the calculus on litigation and change it on legislation as well. Dagan, jump in, please.
Mark, Dagan McDowell, I don't view all of this that we've heard. We've heard this for some time about getting rid of the filibuster, about packing the court, 2 more justices, 4 more justices, even 6 more justices, getting rid of the Electoral College. And as Maria was talking about, adding states to the existing 50 so they can have more senators. Does this resonate with the American people and people going out to vote, not just for the president, but for a senator potentially? Do they understand what is at risk?
Well, in my opinion, half the country really is not checked in. May I put it that way? They're not checked in. If they're actually thinking of voting for Joe Biden, they're definitely not checked in. What's Joe Biden's position on any of this? He pretends he doesn't have a position, which means he does. He supports all this. And on top of that, when you read his 110-page manifesto, and I'm one of the few people who have, every aspect of this society and culture is going to be turned inside out and upside down. Nowhere do they talk about individual liberty. Nowhere do they talk about personal private property rights. Nowhere do they talk about limited checks and balances on government. It's all centralized, iron-fisted, expanded, ubiquitous government that's going to affect the suburbs, that's going to affect small businesses, large businesses, that's going to destroy the energy economy, that's going to open up our borders, will destroy our healthcare system. We never have a discussion. You do on this show, but like on the networks, we never have a discussion about that 110-page manifesto. So let me just recap. Yep. They want to destroy the Supreme Court.
Yeah, do it.
They want to destroy the United States Senate. They want to destroy the legislative process. They want to use impeachment when they disagree with a president who is acting constitutionally. They have a 110-page manifesto that attacks every economic sector in this country, every geographic sector in this country. And what do we have the media talking about? Really nothing. Nothing of any kind of consequence.
Yep. And then let me say this. For those people in the media who are complicit and refuse to acknowledge what took place in the 2016 election, maybe we should see if they should be wiretapped. What would we find out if you were wiretapped and your phone calls were all surveilled and your emails and your text messages the way they did to a member of the Trump campaign, Carter Page, which we now know for sure was unlawful? Mark, we're still waiting on John Durham's investigation, but I have not heard one Democrat say, yes, what took place in 2016 was unlawful, and it just went right against our Constitution by setting up members of the Trump campaign, entrapment, leaking, lying to Congress, forging documents. They did it all to take down Trump.
And you know, Maria, you've covered this beautifully, and you're exactly right. What you're talking about are civil liberties. The FBI trampled on civil liberties. The intelligence agencies trampled on civil liberties. The FISA courts trampled on civil liberties. The entirety of the Obama administration. The Democrat Party has played defense for the Obama administration. Obama and Biden have never had to answer for any of this. You just had a story. You had the great Robert Ray on. Look at this corruption surrounding the Biden family. China. Former mayor to Moscow, the Ukraine, multi-millions of dollars. You have predicates all over the place for federal criminal investigations of Hunter Biden. Joe Biden should be put under oath. He was vice president at the time. What did he know? Meanwhile, no predicates. And you have the DA in Manhattan going after the president, the attorney general in New York constantly going after the president. You had a phony criminal investigation with Mueller and that crackpot Weissman, who was the #2 lawyer there, going after the president of the United States. They have nothing. The Biden family is corrupt right up to their eyeballs. And who talks about it? We talk about it. Will this be brought up during the debate? Probably not. But it ought to be raised.
Not a word. Not a word from the critics of the president. And don't forget, you mentioned Andrew Weissman. He wiped his phone clean. You know how long it takes to wipe a phone clean? At least an hour. You got to keep putting in bad passwords. They wiped clean 27 phones, government-issued phones, of the Mueller investigation. It's just extraordinary. Mark Levin, I know you're going to be talking about it a lot this Sunday, and we will be watching. Thank you so much.